And now that we've actually got all these other sections, these different chapters or sections of this chapter of about the introduction to the value of language or recognized value of language and financial value of language, I'm going to come to the crux of the issue, which is what, which I said in the previous videos, but the one version I'm going to come back to is Lauren Billings, Dr. Lauren Billings, my mentor in linguistics, and I talked about in Skype 3 months ago where he nailed it, really the issue down the head of why the language industry or language field has a problem with being recognized as valuable. Um, that's a different thing than the financial value, which I did in just a separate video here. So go watch the other one about the financial value. I've explained all these other different. So I'm not going to re-mention what he talked about. He talked about these different fields, okay, these different the doctors and stuff, which I've done in a separate a separate video here. I've explained all these different um, trades that he mentioned. He mentioned a couple, and then I've added a bunch into it, and I've categorized them. So that's my kind of added value to his main statement. Um, that all these other fields, his statement um, is that, and I'm giving you the credit that all these other fields have no problem explaining what they do. Okay, no matter what they are. But the language industry, the language field, has a difficult time explaining what the value of what they do and the recognized perceived value, not the money aspect, but the perceived value as a job, as a worthwhile job. Okay, um, uh, compared to other fields, and he's saying that from the academic standpoint, but actually. He knows what I do. We've talked for 30 years about this. I was not going to make a linguist before, and he mentored me to get into this, and then he's watched my career actually split off into go into the commercial side of things and selling language, which he kind of smiles about, and not something he's into is selling language, making money off language. I do. Um, but in the end, we're both doing linguistics, and we're both having fun doing the linguistics, and both enjoy talking and challenge each other about linguistics and language and different things in language. I really appreciate Lauren Billings. Okay, um, and but what he said was again, all these different fields where I said that are a thing, and I've given another one where I've given all my different jobs going back 30 years, 40 years actually, for more than 40 years, where I said all those I had no problems explaining what I did to other people. And then when I'm doing the language related ones, I've struggled with explaining what it is until I found how to use objects to explain. So watch those other videos that kind of explain that. Um, but then it comes down to is he said, and I'm going to summarize this again here in this shorter video, is that there are 8 billion people on the planet today living in 7,000 languages. And that's today. Let's look back, count back, 5,000 years. So let's say maybe 15 billion people, okay, and have lived on the planet in 7,000 or more languages, because we got languages dying all the time, but other language being created. So let's just say 7,000, maybe 8,000, we don't know. Let's kind of round it up. Um, and and so, and all these people do language all day long because what they're doing is they're like, I'm at McDonald's right now, so I'm happy to get I got a drink, so that's language, right? It's all language. My receipt, it's language, right? It's good stuff. Um, I've got here, I've got the packaging of my mouse that I keep my mouse packaged. It's all language, right? That's all language. Um, I've got if I've got my phone's got my phone's got a bunch of things. I've got all those things with those apps, and they all have names on them, language, right? So it doesn't. All this stuff is language. Or if I do here and I bring it up and it's got my phone is charged, or press here, press home, it's language. Okay. Um, when I'm talking here to you, you're hearing me orally, the sound. You're watching my gestures. That's language too. You might be actually click on the subtitles, click on the CC icon on this video. You watch the subtitles. That's speech to text subtitles. That's language. You're seeing my gestures. You're seeing my intonation, my voice. You're hearing, if I'm shrugging my shoulders or kind of moving my hands or speeding up or slowing down my voice. That's all language, right? It's all language, all communication. Uh, And then gave another example, and I give another example. You're driving in your car, you drive down the street, and you say in your brain, okay, I'll say in my brain, but I'll kind of say, you say in your brain, turn left. Do you hear that? Do you see the words of that, turn left? Or do you see an arrow in your mind going turn left? Or do you see yourself visually kind of driving your car, turning left? All that's communication and visual concepts. It's all language, okay? It doesn't matter. Signs, billboards, license plates, they're all language, okay? It's all language. And it concepts, and they're visual, and they've got words or letters, or they got sounds or whatever, or go up to your LinkedIn profile and you might have a pronounced version of your name, language again. I mean, whatever. It's all language. And then you dream at night. You might dream in a language. I've dreamt in at least 3 languages in my lifetime, at least 3 that I recall. Hearing or recalling the sounds in my brain when I'm sleeping, at least what I perceive as sounds in my brain of people speaking, in at least 3 languages, at least 3, maybe 4. That I saw this language, but then I had had visual things of things happening during those dreams that were movements and things. That's language because of communication. So it can be just it doesn't have to have voicing to it or written words to it. It doesn't, because that can just be language. Is also the movement of the objects and things. It's language too. All that's language. So 8 billion people, or let's say 15 billion people over the planet over the last 5,000 years. Let's say 8 billion people on the planet today in 7,000 languages do language all day long and all night long, 24 hours a day for their entire lifetime. So there's no problem, because for all those other trades I said that had no problem explaining what they do, they are providing a service. They're filling a need. They're fulfilling a need of some problem. They're actually solving a problem. But language has no problem. It's just no problem because people are doing all the day and night long. Where's the problem? And the only problem the only time you have problems are cases like, and I'll give the example again, I'll say it again here in this video, or I'll say it in this video because I've been in a playlist now, that when I was language teaching, there was one specific example that I recall where a student, I was teaching French at the graduate school of Lyon, graduate business school of Lyon in France. I was teaching to Americans French, and I had said to all the other French teachers, we need some letters and numbers, letters, numbers, letters, numbers, letters, numbers, every day for the survival French class for 5 days. And then we taught them other things. But the letters and the numbers were super important because they need to be able to reserve bus tickets and plane tickets, and reserve bus and plane or train tickets, or need to go down and buy food buy bread or food or something at a bakery or at a store. And they need to use phone numbers and call, right? And so I use business cards and teach them the business cards back to back, teach them how to get to really do well with their numbers and say their numbers and their letters well, give me addresses or whatever in their names and stuff, right? And the first day, we're going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, teaching them that. The first day, they're trying to pronounce it, trying to get used to it. The second day, start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on to 3, 4, 5, do that. And one of the guys says, hey, yeah, you're totally right, Jeff, because yesterday, Paul and I went down to the local bar, and we ordered 12 beers instead of 2 beers. We wanted to say 2, but we said 12. And they opened them all up, and we had to drink them all. So there was a problem. The problem was that he spent 12 beers of money rather than 2, and that they had too much to drink, right? So they didn't want to repeat that again every single day, right? It was kind of fun for the first joke, but you don't want to do that every day because you're not going to have money at the end of the month, right? So, and you can have some problems going to school if you come back to class if you're kind of drunk. So the problem was we need to be able to pronounce it right. And the resolution was learn to say the words right. So that was kind of a real clear case of a problem. Another case of problem, and I'll say in this video too, is you have a big problem in the language industry or whatever when you've got a product, you've got a mature product, you want to globalize, you want to sell it more, you want to sell more pies to more countries, you want to sell it on Amazon, you want to sell it whatever, and you got to put all the product, the menu items of your product, of your software, if it's software or whatever, let's say the software it's a product and you got menu items there and you got fields in there and you gotta make that into 25 languages. Plus you got to sell the product documentation that goes with it, the user manual, the install manual, the upgrade manual, the configuration manual, maybe kind of depends on how complicated your software is. All your marketing documentation, all your marketing stuff. If you get if you're selling CDs and DVDs of it, you got to put the packaging around it, right? Or the information how to order it online. So it's all given in these 25 languages. And if you're the managing director or the CEO and you come to your folks and say, your product people, I need that yesterday, then you got a problem. That's a big problem. Okay. And even if you do it tomorrow, it's still a big problem. You can do it next week, it's still a big problem. You can do it in a month, you're still in the problem. If you need 25 languages, depending on how big the product is. Okay. So that's where there's a problem. But most of the times there's not that major problem. And it's trying to help others figure out that they actually have a problem, that they need to actually do this to be able to sell more pies in more countries, right? Um, I'm saying pies, but that's, you get what I'm saying. So this is why the language field and the language industry struggles with explaining the recognition, the recognized value of what they do and the financial value they do, but they're mainly the recognized value because a lot of it's abstract. A lot of it's kind of abstract, and other people don't see what it is because they can't compare it with other trades that totally make sense. You know, what do you do? Um, so this is kind of how it is, and this is why we are in the crux of sometimes trying to be able to just explain what we do to other people, like family and children and spouses or partners or friends or folks that you know or on the street or in other associations or whatever. A lot of people just struggle what they do to explain what they do and the value of what they do. I'm just saying the financial value. I'm just saying the value of what it is. And especially when you're talking to people, I'll give an example too about another one here is it's hard when you're doing this cognitive stuff. It's a lot of cognitive and actually keyboard stuff. Um, it's um, it's hard to explain to people that are actually doing manual work. So, like people in forestry, they don't understand. They just don't get it. And people like doctors, and they don't understand it because they're doing practical stuff, like doing with people and doing shots and surgery and planting seeds and trees and growing trees. And they're just not saying what you're thinking here. You just all you're doing is thinking all the time. Cerebral kind of access. So that's where it's important to be able to explain to them the value in a way that they understand. And I got lots of ideas how to do that, but I'm not going to say those here because I don't want to make the video too long. Okay, I want to keep this short. So thanks so much. Thanks for listening, and thank you again, Lauren Billings, Dr. Lauren Billings, for having helped us understand the crux of the matter, and we just build upon it. Thanks.